And we're back for part 2
So, folks,
of Stardancer. Yay. We get paid. This is the part where we do crime and stuff.
Yes, we get paid.
All right. So I'm going to try not to mess this up, but I'm going to ask as we're going along. I'm like, I want to whisper into David's ear as we're walking back along the way. You called me Zero?
he looks at you and says, "That's your designation, isn't it?"
A zero better than David?
Is Faye better than Zero?
I mean, could I boss you around if I told you to do something? Would you have to do it?
He looks in confusion and actually stops in the hallway, which like jerks the whole thing to a stop. And then looks at you and like reaches out his hand and like touches your shoulder and says, "We do not impose on each other."
Right. Okay.
It's genuinely the first human thing you've seen out of him. There's no blankness at all. Like he's fully emotional. He's just like, "We do not impose upon each other."
No, you're right. So can I just ask you if you want to do this? I know you don't really have a lot of choice in the matter.
He's standing in the middle of the hallway and he looks to the right where there's obviously like the dude with the robe, and then he looks to the left where in the distance you see like the entryway to her ship, and then he goes, "Why do you do what you do? Why do you stay with them?"
They're family, sort of. They're better than family. I could tell you actually a story about it, but no, we don't have time.
Family means nothing to us.
Okay, but you still haven't answered my question. Is this where you want to go?
He looks at you for a brief moment, and then says, "I did not want to stay. I do not know where I want to go. This is as good a place as any."
All right, fine. And I like kick something on the ground. Like, is this like a super clean, immaculate ship, or is there any?
No, actually, it's gothic. It's like a gothic cathedral. There's like shit and doodads all over the wall.
Nice.
Random decorations for no reason.
So like, I kick some like pillar or some like thing, like nothing that I can hurt. I'm like, morals. Let's go. And then
like just for a split second, like as you're walking down the hallway and right before you get to the room with the Sahir, David leans over for a split second, and you're not sure if he's saying this for your benefit or for some other reason, but he says, "You called me brother. Perhaps they can be my family," and then just steps across the threshold into whatever the next room is.
Nice.
Cool.
Our good boy.
I think we can cut to ship blasting off, right? Like, unless there's anything
I think that there's probably a moment when he steps into the room. Like, I just want to set like just this one brief moment where this here actually stands up, and you realize that they're not jointed quite like humans. And you hear like a soft tinkling of a lot of their decorations and their metal and their like full armor like clinking and everything, and it stands up and almost like shivers as if in anticipation, and sort of like reaches its hands forward, which is probably when the rest of the appropriate people are like, "Here's your credits. So great doing business with you. Please get the fuck out of the room right now."
It's gonna get weird in here, y'all. We're about to have a mind orgy. Everybody leave.
It's poisonal.
But unless there's anything else, you guys are gonna blast off. Everything's gonna be copacetic.
Nice. 8 credits, yo.
8 credits, yo. All right, cool.
Yes.
Sweet. So, you guys are in the IOTA system, the Twin Star system. As a matter of fact, as you're flying towards the nearest habited place where you can finish getting your repairs and get your nice crew quarters installed, you realize that the stars of IOTA are shining a little bit brighter than this should be. There's a little extra fire around them. But yeah, so let's do payoff, entanglements, heat, which is what you do at the end of each job.
I'm gonna to divide it up because the ship can only hold 4 cred until we get a vault. So I'm gonna give 2 cred to all of us, 2 cred to all the 3 of us, and 2 to the ship, and we
Okay.
can spend it however we want. But it's the easiest way to spread it around. So if you pull up your sheets, you'll find cred magically appearing.
Oh, nice.
Oh,
Oh,
the payoff is obviously 8 cred. This is a major score. Next, we're going to do heat. So again, we have this question of was the job smooth and quiet, contained, loud and chaotic, or wild?
Smooth.
It was right until there were like gunfights and chase scenes on top of.
Well,
the
it was
ice
smooth
lakes.
until the very end. Yeah, I think it was loud. I don't think it was wild and chaotic. We didn't go in there with guns blazing. We didn't like cause damage to the factory, but it feels like it's got to be loud because of the big chase.
So the 3 higher options are contained, which is standard exposure, loud and chaotic, high exposure, and wild, devastating exposure.
I mean, I feel like it might be contained. It's either contained or loud. It's definitely not devastating because it feels like.
Well, let's put it this way. Almost everything they had about us was fake, except for, of course, Faye's thumbprint.
Yeah.
But it wasn't like there was a whole lot attached to our ship. I don't know. I'm inclined towards loud. I feel like.
I think that an argument could be made for contained, except for the fact that they have like genetic matter, and you guys left some evidence, so to speak.
Yeah.
I don't think it's devastating, but it's certainly more than a standard well-contained job might be, right?
All right.
Sure. Cool. So that's
loud.
That's going to be 4 heat in the system, but there's a couple of questions we have to answer. Add +1 heat for a high-profile, well-connected target. No. If you're already wanted in the system. No. Public use of artifacts. No. +2 heat if you killed anyone, which, despite the fact that a bunch of people got dunked in the icy waters of,
they're
Lithios,
well prepared for dealing with hypothermia. Everyone is fine.
I think that largely is okay. Massive property damage is absolutely out of the question. But you did use detonators, which are illegal weapons.
They're fine. People have no sense of adventure or imagination. This is exactly appropriate for being on the ice. Safety.
So that is true, and obviously you didn't damage gates or hyperspace lines, so that's going to end up being 6 heat total in the system.
Yikes.
So I'll make a note of it. And then finally, we're going to roll an entanglement. You're wanted 0. This got interesting.
That's encouraging.
All right, cool. I will bring that into downtime. So you folks are going to land on Indri. So let me switch over this player tag. So Indri is sort of like the industrial capital of the system, of the sector, really. It's something like 25% of all the goods manufactured in the sector come from this specific planet. But because of that, there are thick rust-colored clouds that make it almost appear as if it's like dusk during the day. Smokestacks and various colored flames of gas burn off in the background. There's like a lot of the people that wander around, like there's like acid rains that fall constantly that corrode almost everything. So when your ship goes in a spaceport, they have to like close a little roof over it while they work on it. And most of the people on the planet, because the atmosphere is so toxic, actually move around with like gas masks and stuff on. So those are not uncommon. Yeah, it's just very polluted. There's a ton of air corruption, and that's kind of the world. But that said, it is a heavy industry world. There's a lot of money that changes hands. A chunk of the world that is not actually covered in factories and the like is kind of like the toxic badlands outside of cities. So it's not exactly the happiest planet in the system, but you know, welcome to the orange skies of injury. So yeah, you guys enter the smog clouds, and you know, you come out and there's like the big sizzling sound around like some of the sieves. And yeah, you pull up to Reeves, which is like the major spaceport there. And you know, you guys park your boat. You do you pay upkeep is the first question that I ask.
Yes, we pay upkeep.
Cool. So you lose 1 cred, but your upkeep is
All
taken
right.
care of, and your ship is properly maintained. So we make no rolls to see if anything blows up.
Yay!
And
I'll take that off the Stardancer.
cool. So yeah, so you're on deck, and there's a little montage of you guys like paying some people and then like rigging up some scaffolding around the Stardancer, and you're seeing like people like working on different parts of the ship. So you guys are kind of landlocked for a little while they do appropriate repairs and erect some of the cabins and like, you know, extend certain things, reroute power from certain areas, all that good stuff.
Awesome.
Are they going to build us beds? We can have
Right.
beds.
Well, that's where I feel like there's like the secondary, like there's like the yeah, but also, we want a little extra service, and that's where, I would like them to in this process be.
So
building the quarters.
there's a major argument that breaks out because a bunch of these strangers come onto your ship. You guys are like, yeah, folks, come aboard. And the first one that actually goes towards where your sleeping area is, there is like 320 pounds of dog, like nails him and like it goes for his throat. And, you know, he's like trying to defend himself. You guys are like, oh my God. So yeah, Burden is trying to murder all of these strangers that are on his boat for no goddamn reason.
That's right.
Yeah, I don't know. What do you guys do with Burden while they're supposed to be doing all these repairs? Because otherwise he's gonna maul these people.
Well, Burden
Yeah,
did a good job. So good job, Burden. Like,
no, not good job, Burden. Stop. These are the people that are fixing our ship. They need
No,
arms and legs
that was a
and
good
faces.
job. And then you tell Burden that these people are fine.
Yeah, he's super unhappy. And the thing is that you're like, these people are fine. And then 2 more people come on board. And he's like, oh, fuck no.
And then new for him. So good.
All right. So I think the choice is lock Burden up and have him pee on the floor and destroy things because if he's upset and frustrated, or take him with us.
Oh, I am not taking that dog with me.
All right. So I'm going to put him in your new quarter and he can pee
Absolutely not.
You guys can find a cargo container or something for him if you want.
Very big dog. There's got to be like pony dog daycare.
on the floor.
This planet doesn't have a whole ton of pony dogs, no.
Yeah. Yep. We shove them into a cargo bay with some pony dog treats.
Mm-hmm.
Here, Burden, here's a bunch of bones.
Yeah.
I don't like that. I don't like them touching my stuff. You know, that ship is my stuff, right? So yeah.
Oh man.
He's a little sulky. He's
reasonable.
happy enough once you folks show up, but yeah, you see him like stalking and looking towards whichever direction the ship is. Yeah. So okay, cool.
That's
Just
good.
wanted to ascertain what you guys are doing there. So this is Downtime, which means that part of the thing is you can obviously role play, and we've gone through this before, but you get 2 actions that you can do during the downtime. So yeah, that's where we're at. Anybody have any stuff they want to do first? I'm assuming Bison's gonna happen.
Yeah, I want to retroactively Vice by way of the fact that technically we had already done the score. We were in like just the payoff section, so I kind of was doing it in advance, but I spent a lot of the last
Journey.
session, Vicing a lot of the journey high. So I'm gonna do that. If I can find my character sheet. I would say, hey, can I have a devil's bargain for getting high while in an important deal? But I already decided to do that, so I'm not gonna ask for that. All right, no bonus dice. Submit. There it goes. 5. Cool.
Cool. So you recover 5 stress. GG.
Awesome. Yep. There's one.
Mine is only 4.
It's up to you.
Yeah, I mean, I imagine that that Lauren is gonna vice. I feel like his.
How are you vicing?
I feel like he's going to attempt to indulge his inclination towards the professional ladies of space. Yeah, which is really.
Oh, it's a giant industrial city. You can certainly find some.
Yeah, definitely. So that's what he's going to do, and I feel like in general his feeling or the way that manifests for him is that he feels so often torn between the different kinds of propriety that he needs to show different people, that it feels like those are kind of the only times that he can be him. And I think especially after this this dust up that he had with Faye, he's looking for something to just relieve all of his pent up feelings. So
And your expression is great.
I don't know what I was doing, but
You seem to be vehemently agreeing with your eyes.
there were a lot of big feelings. You two were at it.
Fucking true.
Yeah. Well, you can guarantee that you'll be safe if you want by pushing yourself.
I already rolled.
All right.
Fine.
Hey.
You cleared 3, so you're at 1 stress.
Did it.
All good.
Nicely done.
So you're like, I'll see you folks tomorrow, and you vanish for a night. You know, you find a nice lady, and obviously probably a hotel or something. At least, and for the last time, because soon you'll have crew quarters.
Yes. Oh my god, a bed.
Delicious,
So good.
delicious crew quarters.
Sounds good. Boz, are you vicing or not?
Utterly.
Okay, cool. What is your vice? We haven't seen.
We have not looked at that. So Boz has 2 vices. One is obligation, which is in regards to the Cobalt Syndicate, right?
Yeah.
And the other is pleasure. And we haven't really looked at that. And I keep like sort of noodling over what that does and doesn't look like. And I think for Boz, that actually looks more like the pleasure of belonging and being back in community.
Interesting.
Yeah, so stick with me here. Ready?
Yeah.
So this looks like going and finding like the best version of like the dock workers, like dive bar, like after work bar, where everybody spends like the rest of the evening like drinking and shaking off all the like dust, and trying to find people to like have some sort of like working person's relationship with, in reflection of all of the culture that comes out of her family background.
That's super cool. But it's an interesting. So the thing is that vices drive us. They
Totally.
consume us, right? And
Yeah.
so it's interesting to see how like we go back like just a couple of minutes and we see you looking at, you know, the Faye and Lauren fighting, and looking at one, looking at the other, and it's obvious that like when your crew gets free time, instead of seeking them out to get that familial sense, you need it somewhere else. So you go to like a dive. It's probably called something like the Jump Drive, and it's got like the big neon letters and like, you know, like a little zoom, and then the ship lights up and zoom, ship, right?
Totally.
And so yeah, it's the diviest of the dives. It's got some smoky music. It's got some Xeno singing. You know, some
my hope too. Yeah, and my hope is like people are playing whatever the local like gambling game is, and like casually, like it's pennies, but like spend some time being bad at that with some folks. What were you gonna say, Sean?
I was gonna say, this feels like a place where nothing's ever 100%. So I'd love it if like the E was like flickering, so it like looks like the jump driv. You know, like
there you go.
There, but it's out, the lights
yeah, absolutely. Yeah, big time. And so I feel like there's this sort of like, spending an evening there and like just wanting to like settle into a space and like drinking, eating without, and like it's good because it's very clearly like like this person's partner or mom or aunt like made the food in the kitchen. Like it's all community, right? And sort of dusty. Everything is really dusty.
Do you tell any stories? Do you laugh louder than you usually do? Like what? How do we get a sense that you're belonging here? How do you perceive it?
I feel like the thing that happens the most is that there's like usually Boz either is like constantly playing the like scan the room game, right? And is either sort of kind of masked face, like working, or looking really awkward with like too many elbows, right? And knees. And I think at this point, Boz actually looks like comfortable and slouchy with like a cigar or right and like a drink and sort of like cheeky, but like in a really friendly way. And like maybe starts to push at people's boundaries and makes some jokes.
Like, do you talk to people about certain foods? Do you go back into the kitchen to show them how to make like a specific dish that's only
totally if people will let me do those things that are familiar and like push their boundaries, and they'll like, of course I belong here, somebody who's not been here in right ever and probably won't have the pleasure of coming back ever.
Really matter because in the way that you talk to them, you prove that you have been here. Just may have been on another planet. It may have been with different people. But you definitely have been here for all intents and purposes, even if it's not the physical location. Like you're one of them, right?
Right.
Cool.
And so Buzz, gets to be that person versus this person who's busy doing dubious things and being around to beat people up all the time.
So just to put some small details in, there are a number of people here sporting the blue armband of the Cobalt Syndicate.
Awesome.
So it's obvious that there's some union talk and some damn those Malclates and you know that kind of noise and discussion.
Sure, and Basil very pleasantly like wade right into all of that. So.
Awesome. Cool. So I think that there's a I'm just gonna jump back for a split second and we're gonna go look at Burden, and Burden's got his little pile of those, which is significantly smaller by now, and sort of like looks up as another ship docks at the starport. This is me hinting at stuff that's coming up here in the grapevine, so to speak. And it's the same ship that we've seen dock at the Oasis previously. So you know that's so back to you guys. You know, it's morning of some day. It may be several days later. You know, the progress on the ship is obviously further along. They've got more scaffolding around it. There's people like buzzing around and working, and there's like a short little kind of squat Xeno and this like tin almost like exosuit thing that's like ordering people around. And you know, they're like obviously from some high G world. And yeah, they're fixing up the ship, right?
Nice.
So it looks like it's pretty far along at this point. They're like putting in bells and whistles and that kind of stuff. I'm gonna turn it back over to you guys for a second. Any other like I believe each of you has another downtime action coming, and I believe Loren has a third.
I do.
I need to roll my vice. I have not done that.
Oh,
so,
yes.
We were too busy imagining to get around to it. So no bonus dice, right? And just off and away.
Yes, you only get bonus dice if you're doing it with a specific friend.
Okay.
You could do it with your friend Krieger, your pistol, but I don't feel like that was.
You have to use the pistol in some way.
Sure.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, and
Boz is has not had the occasion. All things on time. All right. 2. Well, I might have a future before me of some more vicing. So from 8 to 6.
Oh, yeah, you're still in a good spot. Cool. Do you want to do that again? Do you want to just say that, you know, you stay on for a couple of days, you hang out with these people? Do you reach out to anyone?
I don't know yet. Let me think about that.
Cool. Faye, what are you doing for your next action?
Well, funny that you should mention the people that are pursuing us, because I think Faye is sitting in some cafe talking to having talked to the dock workers, like the people that are working on the ship, and she's talking with them because she's looking for another job. You know, she knows a guy, and so she's gonna try and find out this. And when one of them mentions like, oh yeah, there's a ship that just came in from the Rin system, it kind of it kind of lifts the hackles on the back of her neck a bit. She's sober, or mostly there at this point, and she's like, oh hey, hey, you know, we're all friends here. Could you tell me who those folks from the Rin system are? You know, maybe my long lost brother is there, and I would want to find him. I say like totally obviously. It's like the, hey, I'm gonna slip you some coin if you can like help me disappear from, like, not show up on anything. So what I want to do, since we are not in the Rin system right now, we can lay low, and
Nice.
I want to convince the dock people to basically give bogus information about us, find out a little bit about who is after us. In fact, I think I might be spending a coin on this, so I can do 2 actions. One would be, well, no, I'm just going to gather information. So I'm going to try and find out about who's after us, and at the same time try and get people to cover our tracks.
Cool. So I guess one of those is reduce heat.
Yep. It's lay low in your games, Josh.
That's right. I'm so
Turns out.
All good. I'm just giving you shit.
So I was just checking what their roll in action. So what are you using to get people?
I think I'm using consort.
Okay.
I'm just kind of being schmoozy with people rather than being like, hey, I'm going to trick you into doing this thing. I mean, sway is my strong suit, but I feel like consort is the
cool. So you should roll consort, and I have 2 questions for you after this.
Sure.
But we'll roll consort first.
I think. Do you have a place where Aura is? Because I feel like this is exactly
Aura?
the kind of planet. Aura, my info broker friend. I feel like Aura is exactly. I'm sorry.
You should tell me. Where is Aura?
Yeah, this is totally Aura's planet. This is why I know somebody. And I think I'm like, hey, where's Aura? I owe her some money I want to pay, and I pull the same line with her, asking if she can help me figure out who's after us and maybe obscure some things.
So we'll deal with gather information here in a second. But are you using your info broker to pass back false information and muddy trails back in the Rin system? Is that how you're doing the lay low? All right, cool.
Exactly
so then go ahead and do a. We'll set the scene. Like, Aura probably has kind of a nicer storefront, which is still kind of shoddy because it's on entry, and then like a back of a shop that's like covered in computer terminals and screens, because you know, info brokering, right?
Absolutely.
And yeah, you know, you walk in and Aura's like, welcome to Aura's Travel. Oh, hey. And then, you know, the 2 of you have the little chat, and you're like, hey, I need you to look into a specific ship that might be after us, but also more importantly, you know, can you do the deed?
You
Go
make
ahead
sure
and,
they don't find us.
yeah, go ahead and roll your consort.
Okay, cool. Consort, standard, 1 bonus die. All right. Well, thanks, Aura.
So she clears 2 heat from
the Rin system.
Rin system. Hang on, I need my.
I think that might have been all we had, actually. I would clear from this system.
You can't.
Tutorial,
You can only right. Lay low in a system
Yep.
that you aren't in currently.
That's. Yep.
All right. Cool. And how gathering info on people that may or may not be after you.
So after like we do like the I don't know. Do you have a way to frame it? I have an approach that I would take.
I'm listening.
But so after like we're both hunched over some of our terminals, and I'm like, yeah, if you can just change the serial numbers there, and ditch a few things, and I'm like, so these man, this guy from Rin, Housemount Clay's like personal hitman. He's some scary stuff. I bet there's like juicy details he knows about his boss. I'm sure he's seen all kinds of things. There might be some information on his ship if I don't know, if someone were to get access to their ship records. I bet those would be pretty tasty tidbits to sell around.
Are you telling me you want to assault a diplomatic craft of the house itself and sell me the information?
I'm just saying, if you wanted to do that, I could point you in the right direction for a lot of, valuable information that you could pick up.
Well, I have money if you have information. That is how infobrokers work.
I don't actually have any information. I was kind of hoping you might have some information about them, and I was sort of pointing that like if you knew like some hackers, or if that was your thing. I mean, you got a lot of nice setup here. You might be able to get some information off of their ship manifests. Or
She
other
lets out a
things.
peal of laughter, and then after like it goes on a little too long, and you realize that she's not entertained by what you said. She's laughing at you, and then she stops and she's like, "Oh, hey, you're right. No, I'm not going to be hacking the personal card of Malclaith because I love this lovely neck of mine with this nice necklace that I put on it. And I like it to be attached to the rest of my body."
Laura, where's your sense of adventure?
Well, I'll tell you right where yours is, though, Faye. And she like taps you in the chest in a gesture very similar to how you were tapping Loren, just not as pointed, right?
Yeah.
She goes, "Your sense of adventure should tell you that there's a black and green Malclaith ship that just landed in port. So if you're infinitely curious about what they're doing, there's your mark. Good luck."
All right. So I take it she cannot tell me, or will not tell me more.
She's not going to hack ships with better security than she has, because you're a
Yeah.
tier 0 crew with tier 0 contacts going up against House Malclaith, which is very risky, and she doesn't want to roll poorly.
That's fair enough. Okay. So if I did want to find out more about this ship, can you point me in the right direction at least?
Probably ask the dock workers. They would be the ones maintaining it.
All right. Hey, you got anything going on? Any work possibly coming around? I'm gonna I figure this is or is as good a person to know
It is possible. So I have to ask you the question: which option are you choosing?
I'm gonna choose it comes from a faction you trust. And I'm thinking about spending your cred to choose. It's not deadly. Nah.
Wait, what are the other options?
All right, so let me, audience, for the audience's benefit, I have a move called I Know a Guy. When you first dock at a port after being away, pick one and ask the GM about a job. And ask the GM about it. It's not deadly. It pays well enough. It's not a rush job. It comes from a faction you trust. And there is another option. I keep missing it. It targets an enemy you have. You may spend 1 cred per each additional feature. So I could buy up.
You get to pick one, but you take more.
Yeah. So the one I want for sure is it comes from faction you trust, because I feel like that was the big thing that kind of posed us in the last one. Was I was like, I don't care who it's for or what it's about or anything like that. I don't really care about targeting an enemy right now. We don't have any strong enemies. I guess, how do you all feel about it being a rush job? Because that would probably mean that's the next thing we've got to do, rather than spending more time with. Nah, I'm just gonna pick that one.
That's fine. Yeah.
That sounds great.
Yeah.
So there's some bad news for you. which is that selecting that doesn't let you necessarily control the specific faction so much as it just has a broad swath of factions that you actually have pluses with.
That's
So you did this great setup, Sean, and I feel really bad about this. Unfortunately, she would not have a contact with this particular faction. She looks at you. You're like, "Do you have any jobs?" And she looks at you. You know what? No, actually, she does have a job that I know about. What she says is like, "Well, I do have a job, and it is pretty dangerous, and it is a rush job. It requires the delivery of some time-sensitive cargo from here to the Amaranth system."
Okay, what is the cargo? Does it have a pulse?
Yay learning! Yay learning!
I don't think so, but it is alive. I think it's some sort of plant substrate.
Fine, I don't care.
Unfortunately, it's very time sensitive because like it'll decay in some period of time, and you need to get it to Amaranth, which is actually on the other side of the suns right now. So the reason nobody's taken it is because, well, the suns are on fire and nobody wants to go through the ring. So
Yeah, no, it's fine. We got it. We got this. We got some great cooling systems in our ship. We'll just, yeah. We'll figure out a way.
All right, you
okay,
let me know if you're on, but you're probably gonna have to
Amaranth.
take off soon. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, my crew is. I'm sure they're ready to go any moment. But I'll swing by before we head out to get the pickup.
Cool. There's two things that I want to note. One of which is that since you're in port and there is like tech and other things around, you do realize that there is a message for you from Satani.
Oh, cool.
Yep. And so you've done one downtime action of vicing and one downtime action of
Laying low.
Laying low. What do you do with any other time that you have?
Are you just asking me? Because I think everyone else
Yeah,
has
just
downtime.
you.
Okay. So I have two other things I want to do. One is I want to spend a coin to take one more downtime action, or spend a cred, sorry, take one more downtime action to study the box.
There it is.
All right, cool.
I
So
want to study.
this is your power, so I want to involve you in it, and I have an idea. So I don't know if you're willing to work with me a little bit on this, but do you spend any time like getting dinner or being in a bar or like doing?
Oh
anything
yeah,
sort of, like,
absolutely.
out and
Yeah,
about?
no, I figured the whole beginning was like schmoozing with dock workers, then it's schmoozing with my
Awesome.
friend Aura, and then it's maybe like going out with her. I
Awesome.
definitely think Faye does all of her, like, she likes to be in public spaces. She likes to hide in plain sight. So yeah, absolutely.
Cool. So yeah, Aura actually picks the place, and you guys go to have some dinner. And it's it's a nice joint, but not like high end or classy. Not like something that Loren might go to. But yeah, you they do have like a small Urbot that like delivers your trays of food and everything. And there's this like moment during dinner when it accidentally bumps the edge of your chair, and like one of the glasses on its little tray like tips over and spills just a little bit on your coat, and it apologizes massively and profusely and says that it'll print you out a receipt to give you a discount on your meal to make up for its clumsiness and poor programming. And it prints you out a receipt, but the receipt doesn't, it says like 15% off and stuff like on the top, but the text actually says something like, please contact us. And like it gives you directions into the Badlands. And things like that. And then like it continues with like, you can redeem this at the cashier. And it's like, so
Nice.
obviously it's an encoded message from Conclave 01.
Nice. So like I remember, like I'm like, oh, whatever, it's fine. I don't care if like I don't care if it bumps me. And then like when I get one on my jacket, I'm like, it's gonna stain. You know, like my jacket doesn't have 1,000 stains on it. I try to remember like as it's like leaving, I'm like, I remember Boz and I'm like, oh, thank you. As it's like going off. Like,
oh,
cool.
But I have the
so you're gonna spend your coin in a minute. Let me flash the other two.
Excellent.
Boz, Loren.
Yeah.
Actually, Loren, you've had a lovely evening and a day probably. What do you do after that?
Boz, I'm wondering, so we have prowess training in our ship, and I was wondering if you would help me train stuff. Teach me some stuff, because you're good at some of that, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, you're good at scrambling and scrapping.
You won't
So
like
yeah.
it, but it'll be fun.
Yeah, I think that Lauren comes back and he's clearly a lot more relaxed. The tension of the fight that he had with Faye has kind of left him, and he comes back and probably finds Boz doing some work on the ship of some kind.
Boz might actually be reading a book or like playing. Oh, here, way better. So Boz is actually playing with Burden, but what that looks like is they're taking turns sneaking up on each other and like tumbling over each other, and like at which point you're like, Boz is really agile, right? And is like doing a bunch of it, almost is like parkour and like free running. And the two of them are like running ramshod through like the cargo bay.
Yeah.
Nice.
And I think Lauren walks in and sees this happening, and it's kind of like dumbstruck. And I think Boz sees him be impressed with her very clearly, which is not something that he normally shows.
Right.
And he's just kind of staring and watching this happen. He's like, can you teach me how to do that?
And that's when Boz like throws a couple of extra like unnecessary like grins and like a like one particular like extra roll and like lands in front of him. He's like, yeah, let's do that.
Cool. So yeah, I'm gonna train prowess. So that means that I get 2 XP, right? Because we have the training. Strush.
Yeah.
Yes, you earn 2 ticks in. Did you say that you were training prowess?
Prowess, yeah.
Then yeah, you get 2 ticks in prowess.
Yeah, and I think that this is like almost a montage of like Boz like lifting weights or something, or running in a certain way and making it look really easy, and then Lauren like doing the thing and kind of trying to have a strong face about it and be like, yeah, I can do this. And then as soon as Boz looks away, he's like, oh my god.
I love the synergy, or the bringing it back in. Last time we saw Boz remembering her training with Aya, and it being like the same kind of thing. Where she was flattering, and Aya was the badass. And so
Reincorporation.
Check that out. So good.
Yeah. Yeah, and so we have our little montage, and then I think we have the end of it, and Lauren turns to Boz and is like, hey, I just like, I've always wanted to be able to do things like this, and I've never had the opportunity, and I'm really, thank you. Thanks a lot.
I'm glad you're here. Anytime.
Great. And
I love
like,
that secretly Boz is like the heart of the group.
yeah.
she totally is.
Awesome.
What's up with the muscle being the one with the confidence?
Boz, do you have a final downtime action?
Yeah, I think I'm kind of interested in carrying on with some of the vicing, but in sort of transitioning that over to the idea of obligation. So here's a fun thing, like flashback from training Lauren to obligation to the Cobalt Syndicate, and training up some folks in the Cobalt Syndicate on like some basic like sparring.
What's the difference between the two?
Boz isn't nearly as nice to the Cobalt Syndicate folks, and it's not as fun, and it's like it's work. It's like the work face is on.
So we see like Boz and Lauren like smiling, and like Boz correcting like punch structures and like, you know, things like that. And then this is more like Boz walking around and like barking orders, and like maybe occasionally like smacking somebody with like a small rod or something, or like what is...
Nothing too super super heavy, like not necessarily smacking people, but like a little bit of hollering and like kind of humorless and cold, like very faint praise is present because it's work and these people are fixing to get themselves in trouble.
It entertains me that this is your drive.
Helping people.
No, it's
Yeah.
very interesting
Well,
that
well,
this cause consumes you.
What were you going to say, Sean?
Last time when we were on Oasis 64,
Yeah.
there was a newscast about the Cobalt Syndicate's union strikes,
Mhm.
uprising, and how Malclaith was going
Mhm.
to. I almost said Kinclaith, which is at least more adjacent.
Closer-ish?
Yeah. Alice Malclaith was gonna, like shut that down. So I imagine this is a whole different system. So that Cobalt Syndicate may not be in the same exact situation, but I imagine like they still have the same issues of like we're fighting to, like it's very appropriate. It seems to me.
It's not just that. It's keep in mind that the Cobalt Syndicate is trying to like forge unions, which is very difficult because the guilds are very powerful and they have huge amount of support. But one of the things is that I don't know if you know how like they were like rah rah down with Malclaith. If you recall, Malclaith announced that he was going to send a specific judge to negotiate with them, and there was going to be stuff like that. But what you're getting from the syndicate that you're training is that they expect that to fail. They expect Malclaith to move violently against them, and they expect to need to do reprisals. So what you're doing is actually like in some ways aiding a cause that potentially might be hopelessly outgunned.
So pretty sober, right? And spend some time teaching people how to fall down.
So you're gonna get shot at.
A lot.
Duck.
Cool. So Faye.
Let me roll that.
I'm sorry. Yeah, you should just roll Vice.
Before you roll Vice, do you have anybody that you can use as a contact that's here?
The only person that might, so Boz's enemies with Shad, a weapons dealer, but like and that's associated with the in my mind so that's somebody in the Cobalt Syndicate.
Cool.
But outside, I don't know how to loop that in other than them making my life miserable, which is fine.
You could easily be teaching people how to use weapons instead of how to do hand-to-hand alone.
Sure.
And you essentially like hook Shad up with the people on this planet. I know that you said that Shad is already syndicate, but you could get him to sell weapons to the syndicate.
Sure.
So that's a thing.
As another like in closing, sort of here's somebody to send these folks to. So
cool. So Faye, you do know that there is a black and green ship at the starport. Is there anything special you wish to do, or do you want to just like sneak onto your ship and study the box?
Yeah, well, first we should have Boz roll.
Oh yes, I sorry, I told
all
Andy
good.
I forgot promptly again.
No worries.
Yeah.
I think. Go ahead.
Actually, Andy, I do have to point something out.
Do.
We haven't brought this into the fiction yet, so it's okay if you change it.
Yeah.
But I believe Shad is your nemesis.
Yeah, that's what I was saying
so
earlier. So I was a little confused about your reply. I was like, that's the only person.
I remembered that Shad was on your sheet. I didn't remember that you had a special relationship. I just opened your sheet in front of myself. I was like, oh, right.
So to loop back to that, no, I won't loop that person into this fiction at this time, as I don't think that works right now. So no bonus dice. Go ahead.
Yeah, so they give you a bonus die, but then they often complicate your life. So
and Boz doesn't want that right now. Boz just wants to get some work that feels useful to. All right, so no bonus dice. Gonna roll Vice, and off we go. Yeah. That's a good number.
There you go.
There we go.
We're all low on our stresses.
Maybe we can stop screaming at each other.
Yeah, maybe when we're not all maxed out on stress.
I don't know though.
If you get an additional skill in your insight column, your vicing will go up by a die. So that's another way that you can kind of tweak things.
Good to know.
Because you always lower your lowest category, and right now your lowest category is insight with 1. So
yeah, I did not know that. Thank you.
1 die, whatever you get. All right, cool. Sweet. So Faye,
Yes.
which are you doing?
I am. Well, I was trying to gather information about the House Montclair ship, and I was told a big fat nothing by Aura. She was not willing to dig into it, but she did say,
Wisely.
well, it's dock there. Why don't you go check it out? So I'm gonna see if I can get. You tell me. I feel like this could either be Skulk, where I'm like sneaking around trying to figure like spy on them, or it could be Consort, where I'm just like talking to the like the dock hands, but I'm trying to get like whatever dirt I can.
If you're talking
like,
to the dock hands, it'll
Yeah.
just be a fortune roll. If you're trying
Okay.
to skulk behind them, we should roll your skulk, and it'll be not just a fortune roll.
I have a question before we get into this, which is
Yeah.
the job that you were talking about with Aura. Have you said that you would do that, or have you gotten more information? Like, how much information do we have about that job?
I feel like I have the basic information, which is there's some plants. They need to go to this planet, and the only real complication that we know of is that it's through the suns that are really hot. So we'd have to figure out a way. We'd have to take it through them. But also I have this like go out to the
Missive.
Badlands. Now, when they say Badlands, is it on this planet or is it
Yep.
like okay? So also there's another thing maybe from Conclave 01. So I'm gonna find out about that first before I bring it back and like be like, here's what's on the table. Here's what we could do.
Okay.
I don't think Aura will cry if I don't take this job at the moment. I mean, she's been looking for somebody to do it, and
It's a well-paying job, but it's extremely time-sensitive and dangerous.
yeah. Awesome. So yeah, I totally want to sneak around because that's a bad plan. I don't like these guys. They're jerks.
It's true.
So I want to find out what their deal is.
No problem.
So I think I'm gonna skulk. What's the?
Awesome.
I want to basically like sneak either onto their
Mhm.
ship or close enough to it to get information.
There's no information to be found by staring at the ship from the outside.
All right, I'm sneaking onto the ship.
No.
How are you planning to get on the ship?
When there's people doing like maintenance, because they got to do maintenance just like we do, I'm gonna like throw on like a dock worker coverall and pretend like I'm one of the people, just like, yeah, here I am, just working on stuff. Which directions does it go? Yeah, just like carry some stuff in, set it down, and then
Pick it up
cruise around.
again.
Yeah,
Set it down somewhere else.
exactly. Does that sound feasible, or do they have tight enough security that they're gonna be like, wait, what's your dock worker ID for each person that comes on? What's your
The dock itself, you could probably fake out some dock workers. They're a pretty tight-knit crew, so if you just like, I am Stacy Mulligan from over there, from the other side of the station, they'll know, right? Like,
no, yeah, I think I
like
would try
having
to
coworkers.
I think I would try to schmooze with them and be like, hey guys, these dudes like piss me off and I want to go, or not. I don't want to say anything that's going to get them in trouble.
That's the thing is, the dock worker, schmoozing with the dock workers is possible. And I mean, if you're just basically like keeping your hat down and walking like you know where you're going, they may not know who you are, but they see somebody with the right uniform walking in a place that is possible. They're not going to look twice. But that ship is much better than yours, and they need like basic like stuff. They need like to remove charge and put fuel in, which
Toilet paper.
Toilet paper.
Right.
Yeah.
But it's unlikely that they're allowing random strangers on board. Which it's
well, this is why I'm skulking, because I'm impersonating a dock worker. I mean that's what I'm going to do.
What I'm saying is, even though your ship has certain maintenance, it's a lot like truck maintenance, or something, where they do certain parts and whatnot, but you do not necessarily need to turn over like the keys to the cabins and stuff like that. Like a lot of the ship is not going to be accessible.
Oh, that's fine.
A random dock worker. I mean, their security is pretty tight. So you can totally roll skulk. But
limited effect is what it sounds like.
I'm sorry?
It sounds like I'd get
No,
limited
actually, I
effect.
think it's standard effect, but I think this is a desperate roll. Because they have like cameras and things that you're not necessarily anticipating. This is like a tier 3 ship, and they're
Yeah.
not used to that.
Yeah. All right.
Mhm.
That sounds like a foolish idea. Going for it.
Yeah.
Sounds great. Let's do it.
All
Talk
right.
shit,
I'm
roll
gonna.
crits, right?
Yeah, we have one gambit. I'm spending it.
Awesome.
Well, Skulk. It's desperate. I don't think anyone's gonna help me because I'm not telling them I'm doing this. I don't know any devil's bargains. I'm not thinking anything. So I'm just spending the gambit, and we'll see how it goes.
Oh,
Oh, it went just like I've been rolling
marvelously.
all week.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is great. Excellent. All right. Well, before I die, I get an XP in prowess.
Worth it.
Oh boy.
Awesome.
Breaking a roll.
Cool. So let me just hang on. Is it time to take our next break?
Cliffhanger.
It certainly can be. Yeah.
Because I feel like I know exactly what happens here. Let's just take the break, and I have a feeling we're going to be jumping into an action sequence right after this.
Oh boy.
It'll be fun and exciting.
Yes.
How bad could it be? Well,
Let's
we're
find
gonna find
out.
out in a couple minutes. All right, all. It's good times. See you guys soon.